Welcome to Purposive Communication Jack 15. This is Lesson 3. In this lesson, we examine nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is the process of intentionally or unintentionally signaling meaning through behavior other than words. This definition encompasses a variety of actions such as gestures, tone of voice, eye behavior, as well as all aspects of physical appearance. We begin studying this powerful topic by examining the nature and functions of nonverbal communication before moving on to the nonverbal codes that convey verbal messages. You are communicating nonverbally when you convey a message without using any words, but you also communicate nonverbally when you use nonverbal behaviors in addition to words. When you smile, frown, or gesture as you speak, or when you speak using a particular tone or volume. For example, as a kid, you probably knew when your parents were angry with you because they called you by your full name while using that tone. It may be non-vocal, indicating that the voice is not used, but it is still a language. It is still a language with gestures, symbols rather than spoken words, and with its own strict grammar rules. Likewise, the note that your friend writes to you uses words, so it too is a form of verbal communication. However, a nonverbal communication is, for example, tapping a watch, your watch signals meaning without any use of linguistic symbols. It is often spontaneous and unintentional. We send nonverbal messages unintentionally when we roll our eyes, laugh, slouch, or blush without meaning to display those behaviors. Often without our knowledge, our nonverbal behaviors send powerful messages. Next is nonverbal communication is ambiguous. Blinking, stammering, or hesitations in speech can indicate deception, but they can also indicate anxiety or uncertainty. In many cases, you can pick up clues about the meaning of behavior from the situational context. For example, if your friend is sighing deeply and blinking rapidly as she heads off to her biochemistry final exam, you're probably safe guessing that she's feeling anxious. But of course, you can't know for sure. Perhaps her boyfriend broke up with her 20 minutes ago and she just doesn't feel like talking about it. This is why we tell students to regard nonverbal behavior as cues to be checked out rather than the facts. Next is nonverbal communication is more believable than verbal communication. Imagine you're grabbing lunch with your brother, talking talking a minute, taking a minute about all your exciting plans for after graduation, but he's staring off into space. Maybe you're just boring him, right? But when you look closer, you notice that his face is ashen. He isn't making eye contact with you, and he hasn't shaved in a few days. You pause and ask, "Hey, is everything okay with you? You seem not yourself." Your brother looks up somehow startled, tries to smile, and says, "What? Oh, yes, everything is great." It is important to bear in mind, however, that just because we tend to place more stock in nonverbal communication doesn't mean that we are always right. Your brother might be fine, just as he says he is. Perhaps he's growing I don't know, he's thinking about something else. In fact, even when we know someone very well, we are sometimes unable to detect deception or to read their nonverbal behaviors accurately. We go to the functions of nonverbal communication. It is important to discuss every purpose that nonverbal behaviors serve. We highlight here the most important ways that nonverbal behaviors work on their own and in combination with verbal behaviors to affect our communication. So non-verbal behavior often serves to clarify meaning by reinforcing verbal messages. It does so in three ways: repeating, complementing, and accenting. So, repeating mirrors the verbal message, offering a clear nonverbal cue that repeats the verbal message. For example, you hold up three fingers while saying three, or shake your head at a toddler while saying no. You can also reinforce verbal messages with complementing. Nonverbal behavior that matches without actually mirroring the verbal message it accompanies. For example, when you pat a friend on the back while saying you did a great job, that's complimenting. You reinforce the message that your friend has done well. Nonverbal behaviors are also used for accenting, or clarifying and emphasizing specific information in a verbal message. For example, if you want your friend to meet you at a local bookstore, for example, at 6 p.m., you can make eye contact as you talk, indicating that you are monitoring your friend's attention level, or you can touch the friend lightly on the forearm and raise your eyebrows as you mention the local bookstore. It's like asking, "Do you know the one I mean?" And give vocal emphasis or added volume as you speak. For example, it is important to me that you be there at 6 p.m. So there's some emphasis on the 6 p.m., meaning the time. Or replacing words. For example, a traffic officer's outstretched palm constitutes for the word stop, like that. And wagging a finger at a toddler can indicate no without your saying anything. Substitution is common in situations where words are unavailable, as when communicating with someone who does not speak the same language as you, or when words are inappropriate in situations that call for silence, or unintelligible places in noisy situations, or as if signaling your partner that you're ready to leave the party, for example. So, substitution can also signal information that you'd rather not say aloud. For example, raising your eyebrows at a friend seated across the table from you when the other friend you're dining with mentions in the 10th time that his current internship is paying him really well. So you signal. Next is contradicting verbal messages. If a person's verbal and nonverbal messages seem odd,